think there's an opportunity cost with everything. And undoubtedly, when you're looking at MBA, there's the time and the money that's associated with it, right? Unless your company maybe is paying for it, there's at least the time. As always, it's always a question of how much time or financial investment we're going to have to put towards something. That's the opportunity cost, right? So I think as a lot of folks look at the MBA, it's kind of been under attack in some ways of, is this worthwhile? Does this make sense for me to pursue? So I guess I'm curious, as somebody who used to speak to graduate students and teach graduate students, how might somebody pursue an MBA and waste their money and time in the process? And how might it be worthwhile for someone?
I went through the MBA program not knowing why I was going through the MBA program. I went through the MBA program because I could, my employer was paying for it, and I had the time because I was single at the time and I was out of undergrad, and I had the time to give. So I went through the MBA program, did very well, and came out the other side, and it's like, okay, why did I do that? And it's just been since over the last 10, 15 years where I really started thinking more about graduate business programs and why they're there. And I did some research, and the MBA was created as a critical thinking curriculum that was mostly geared towards those students who weren't business undergrads to come back and get a college education in the critical thinking skills you need for business strategy. And that makes complete sense, right? When you think about the MBA that way, bringing in a comm major, bringing in an engineering major, chemistry, biology, French major, because sooner or later, everybody's going to be involved in a business, regardless of where your passions are and what you studied. You're going to be working either for a business or creating your own business. So understanding the strategy of business is very important for everybody. And that's why the MBA was created. Mm-hmm. So thinking about it that way, it makes complete sense for anybody with a non-business undergrad to come back and get an MBA. Mm. Absolutely. That makes sense. And I would prefer an in-classroom model to an online model. And the main reason is I think that learning experience in that classroom, when you have motivated students in a classroom who have practical knowledge and years of experience behind them, to have those conversations with the professor, that type of learning experience, you can't recreate anywhere else. At the undergrad level, at the online level,
high school level.
It's so amazing to be in a graduate classroom with students who are willing to have a conversation of, hey, this is what I've learned, and these are the mistakes I've made. And it just adds to the discussion, allows us to take that education to places that you wouldn't ever think of before. Mm-hmm. And then it allows people to take these abstract ideas like CAPM or time value of money and be able to attach it to applicable things in their life.
Experience.
We experience, and they're like, oh, okay, this all makes sense now. This is why I discount future cash flows. And this is why I need to be careful about the discount rate I choose. And this is why I should think twice about investing in something that's speculative that really doesn't have any intrinsic value. And there's a place for that in a portfolio, but maybe, crypto isn't the end all be all. Yeah. But it's having the conversation with that person in the classroom who did the crypto investing, mm-hmm. and wrote it up and wrote it back down and is giving you their life experiences that helps you to connect the things the professor's talking about with their experiences, with your experiences. So I think a graduate business education has an extremely high potential for a really solid ROI for anybody that's in a reputable, and by reputable I mean an AACSB MBA program. And I understand you're going to say, okay, there's these for-profit models out there that'll give it to you cheaper, that'll give you credit for your life experiences and stuff like that. And okay, that's fine, but I think, again, you need to be in the classroom with people that are there willing to communicate with you with them, with the professor about these different ideas, these different concepts, and make them more real, make them more concrete. So I think at the end of the day, an MBA is a really good idea for almost anybody out there. There are going to be some people that as an undergrad, they already went through the management strategy. So maybe an MBA may not be the best for them. Maybe an MS in finance or an MS in marketing or something more specific, since they already have that strategy component that they did as an undergrad. But even for them, coming back and having that life experience and then revisiting strategy may also be beneficial. But for me, I have totally swung the other way from, where's the value in an MBA to where isn't there a value in an MBA when you approach it the right way?
Yeah, and it's difficult to replace that pot of people thinking together and wanting to share their thoughts and experiences together. That is difficult to replace. It's funny, I just had an event at a high school, and this gal spoke up. She was probably 17 years old, and the question that we were going back and forth almost in a debate-like fashion about was most of what college teaches you can be learned online. And this gal said, well, when you're talking about online school, I feel like I didn't learn anything when we had high school classes just online. And everybody was like, yeah, just all came in at the same time to say, yeah, I didn't learn anything when we had online school. And I think that highlights what higher education, what education in general really can maybe use to differentiate themselves when people say, well, what's the purpose of an MBA? Is that pot of people coming together to think about complex problems. But at the same time, I can see, I can see where a lot of folks might look at an MBA and say, that's just a bunch of people paying for their perception. It's no different than a kid or the guy saying, hey, I want to buy this nice car so people think about me differently. And I wonder, again, that's where the argument is there's not much utility in it other than the perception, because there are people that argue against it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so I wonder how you would respond to that. If there is any truth in the value of the MBA is more perception-based than it is merit and utility-based, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but you could say that about any decisions you make in life, right? If you just want to check boxes, whether it's higher education, whether it's marriage, whether it's the nice car, the nice house, you can check the boxes all you want. But at the end of the day, how empty is your life going to be? There's no purpose. You're just checking boxes and looking for the next box to check. And that's why we were talking about that classroom experience allows that connectivity with your fellow classmates, with the professor, with the curriculum that checking boxes can't give you, right? So at the end of the day, you can treat higher education like checking boxes, or you can treat it as how can I make this a valuable experience for me? Just like anything in life, whether it's going to a sporting event, whether it's, hanging out with family. Am I just checking? And some days you do just want to check the box, right? Completely understand. Some days you just want to check the box and move on. But most days, if you figure out, hey, how can I make this work best for me? It's going to be a far better experience. You're going to have a far better day. And at the end of the day, you look back and say, I feel somewhat full from what I did today because I wasn't just checking boxes. I was trying to connect to people, to ideas, to something. And I think that connection is what we need.
Wonderful answer. That was actually a great answer. Yeah, there is much of life where you can just go through it and check the box. Yeah. And, I think, unfortunately, for a lot of teenagers and maybe young folks, that is attractive, where they look at it as, I'm more concerned with what others think about where I'm going and what degree I'm getting versus what is providing the most transformative experience, when in reality, it's much more how you go to college than where you go to college.
Absolutely.
I think I might have seen something that you wrote on college tests being removed from the admissions process.